Hey guys, thank you for hanging out with us for another episode of Casually Christian presented by Livestream My Event. If you guys are watching this for the first time here on Casually Christian, we talk about people's lives, their interests, and their passions. So if you like what you see, please remember to hit like and subscribe and smash that notification bell to catch our latest episodes of Casually Christian. So joining us today is a first timer. He's an actor, professional dancer, and he's been on The Bridge, Cold Case, The Shield, and he's also been in the movie with Edward James Olmos. It was directed by Edward James Olmos called Walkout. So joining us for the first time here on Casually Christian is Jerry Hernandez. Jerry, thank you for hanging out with us.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me.
Oh, likewise, man. I'm all like, should I ask him to come on the show? I'm the worst case scenario is no. So I've been rejected before.
You know what,
so
dude?
Like,
That. Yeah, I live by that, man. I live by that. It's always, and I always tell my friends whenever they come for advice, I'm like, look, the most anyone can ever say, literally in life, is no. And knowing that just frees you up for everything else.
Exactly. So are you pretty like confident like when you go into your auditions? Like, do you ever feel like, I guess, stage fright when you go, like when you get casted? Do you get like those butterflies? Do you feel like
know what? I've always been really good at psyching myself out. Yeah. So as a person, I'm like super introverted and shy, but like whenever I'm on set or whatever, I like go straight into work mode. But when I first started out, I'd be the guy with like my sides and trying to hold it in, but my hands are shaking. And but now it's much different. Like I go, I also prepare a lot more when I go in. I mean, I started off really young, so I didn't really know. I was just kind of thrown out there and do my best. But now it's much more of a well-oiled machine. You know what I mean?
Got you.
Yeah.
So you know what? Oh, morning, guys. Like, we got our buddies saying hi. Morning,
nice.
Ariana. Thanks for commenting. But you know what? Let's start in the beginning, man. Like, how did you start with, like, do you start as a dancer? When did you start? You say you started very young. So I was wondering if you could just kind of like your beginning as a performer. How did that start?
Yeah. I started off when I was 6. I was in high school and I did a talent competition in LA. My parents gave me one shot to do this, right? Because it's always like, you want to be an actor, like, finally. I'm telling you, I was always very shy, but I always wanted to perform, right? And then there was this competition called IMTA, and it's like dancing, modeling, acting, singing, the whole bit. And you kind of like, I mean, at this point, looking back, like, I don't think it was a scam because I got like legit representation, obviously, and everybody there was legit. So I don't think it was that. But like you kind of like prepared with a group that you were going with, whatever your talent was. And then for a week, you were set up at the Bonaventure down in downtown, and then you did what you were going there to do. So I did acting, I did some print, and then I did dance. And then you get callbacks. So I got a few callbacks for acting, and then I had some callbacks for print. But I had heard that there was this agency that had a good dance department. I had never been a dancer, dude, ever, like at all.
Really? Because like I seen you dance. I'm like he was born to do this.
I just like to dance, man. Like ever since I was a kid, I would put shows together in my room, like art stupid crap. Like I would get, like the little confetti poppers and like pretend like they were like fireworks going out. So it was, it's my brain. So I went up to, I mean, I had no fear at the time. I'm like, hey, I went to this completely isolated agent. I was like, I heard you guys have a really good department and I would love to be repped by you guys. How do I do it? And she's like,
that's cool. That's dope.
Completely took her off guard because you would go like almost like appointments for these callbacks. And she's like, okay, well, sure, here, just send us a tape at this address.
Hmm.
So sure enough, as soon as I got back, I kicked everybody out of the house because, again, I was still shy, so I couldn't
Yeah.
dance in front of people, but that's what I wanted to do. So I set up a camera and I freestyled to I I I don't even, it was Cisco, not the
Oh,
thong
Cisco.
song.
Oh,
It was
damn.
off of, it was like Drew, I don't even remember. I just I remember, like, I just freestyle taped myself, sent the tape in, and then I got a call while I was in school, because I had my cell phone, snuck it in, obviously, and they're like, "All right, we want." So I was like, "Heck yeah!" And I went, and then they're like, "All right, cool. So we like your energy, we like your look, but you need to go to class, like
Yeah.
formally
Because
training." And the thing is,
yeah.
when you're a dancer, if you want to, like, I mean, you can't learn technique, the same way. For me, I just stuck with hip hop. So from there, they kind of started sending me out for commercials. Then they wanted to rep me for theatrical. So it kind of all that was ultimately the goal, was
Like it
like,
opened up.
yeah, man, it was just like, let's just try everything that I could possibly throw my head in, and whatever. My goal was always, but I was going to
Yeah.
try anything to just get my, because, I
To
mean,
get in
when you're
there.
from my side of town, our side of town, you don't really
Yeah.
have connections. You know what I'm saying? I never had any kind of theater, so I just had to find my own way, and that's how it started.
I got you, man. Yeah, like because you were born in like you lived in Pico Rivera,
Yep.
right? And I grew up in Norwalk, so like the hood. Yeah, I was like, are those gunshots or is that are those cuetes
You know,
and
hundred
shit?
percent for sure. Yeah, yeah.
But that must have been a great feeling to get like a phone call during class. You must have felt like dope. It's like fuck yeah, like I
Oh
got
yeah,
these going. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Yeah, I would have felt the same fucking way, man. I'm like, yes, somebody, because I'm a writer and a director
Yeah.
is too. So if I would have gotten a phone call in high school, it's like, we love your script, we're gonna make it. Spielberg's gonna direct it. I'm like, it would blow my freaking mind.
Heck yeah.
But I went to film school when I was 19, and I made this short
Nice.
film called Eric, and that's how I started my career. As
Yeah.
a film director, but now I'm doing, because I was used to doing stuff behind the scenes, but now I'm getting myself
Yeah.
out there. So I'm very like, I give you actors, performers like props, because like to be like with the spotlights, it's warm and people are watching you. You get like your head starts messing with you.
Oh,
So I want to
it's so
know,
easy.
how did it does it get better as the more you do it, or do you feel like it's still
It's
not
funny
the
that you bring
same?
that up, man, because I quite literally earlier this week I was shooting a spot, um 2 days ago. 2 days ago I was on set, and sure, I'm a sweater dude. I sweat
Yeah. Yeah.
profusely. I that's just what it is. And wearing there was two we were doing, it was for a commercial. I was doing the Spanish spot, and then there was another guy doing the general market, which is English, and they had us in sweaters. So another person who just sweats a lot. So we were both kind of like in the same boat.
I see.
But they they're kind of like, not issues, but there was a lot of kind of miscommunication with the script in terms of certain information that
Mhm.
needed to be put in, because it's about devices that still haven't been out to the yet. So,
Yeah.
like, you have to sign it in. It's like super classified and
I know.
the
I get
whole
it.
bit. But because I like to go, I'm always like, I prep the night before, I'm ready, and they kept changing both of our scripts. They changed it about like 5 different times. Four, no, about four. But they would hand it to us, and they'd be like, "All right, guys, everybody,
Mhm.
reset. Here we go, ready, and three, two." I'm like,
It's like,
I
what?
like, I
Yeah.
can't. I don't have photographic memory, man. Like,
Yeah.
but so I had to learn, and this was what I was just talking to somebody. This was when all the years of experience like presented themselves, because I was
I see.
like, all right, I gotta like stay in my zen, focus, because once you, as an actor, bro, like once you get in your head,
Hmm.
it just spirals. Like, at least
I
for me
see.
and most of my friends, like if you allow in your head, you're going to be so everything else that you're not going to be able to do your actual job. And
I see.
from experience, seeing people that I've worked with go through that, and me having that experience when I first started out, I was like, all right, just they know that they're just giving you the script. They know that. So do
Yeah.
your best. And if you need to reset, take a moment, try to remember, do it again until,
Mhm.
and if you mess up, keep going. Because, you know, thankfully I never did this, but I remember specifically one of the biggest like things that my acting coach at the time was telling me. He's like, dude, you just never say cut or let's
Oh
stop.
shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just, because you don't know what they're going to use. And so I've always stuck with that. So even though I was like drawing a blank, I'm like, I'm going to just try and find the
Wing it.
words and do my best until they're like, all right, let's reset. You know what I mean? So,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
but yeah, man, like if I didn't have those years of experience, I would have yesterday. I probably would have had a series, because it was, it's the lights,
It was
it's
intense.
knowing you have a crew of like 60 people and they're all waiting on you to say
Yeah.
the right, so it's,
Like
and
you
then
need
you have
to
the,
deliver.
oh yeah, man. So,
Yeah. And like it's you're pulling your training from your toolbox. You're like, like
uh-huh.
all the stuff. So you're just like, okay, I'm gonna try this and try that through your experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
And you said that your parents were they supportive with you? Because you said like your parents were only going to give
Yeah.
you one chance, and I want to hear a little bit about
Well,
that.
look,
Like, what was that
I,
one chance?
now that I'm older, I look back and I obviously can see now that they just want what was best for me, obviously,
Yeah,
right? Like in education, making sure you get it, follow the timeline that I feel like we're all kind of presented with to achieve success, or society's kind of expectation of success.
yeah,
And so they gave me one shot. They're like, all right, this is it. We're going to support you just so you can get this out of your system.
gotcha.
And
So you
like,
could be a teacher later on, so you just get it.
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Or like they wanted me to be a doctor, as I
yeah,
feel like every family wants their
yeah.
children to be some kind of doctor, lawyer, or
So
um
you need to be
for
an avocado.
yeah, well, for sure. Yeah, yeah. My
Yeah,
dad specifically, he's like, you should be a pediatrician. You have a great personality to be a pediatrician. I'm like,
yeah. Like
uh,
I don't. Yeah,
I was an average student, but yeah, so it wasn't up, and I had to prove myself. It wasn't up until um the money started to come in
I see.
that
Where it was like, oh,
they were
okay,
like,
it's now.
oh,
Yeah.
like
When I see that
you can
money,
actually make money off of this. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, that's never why I did it. I didn't even want it to be famous. I genuinely love to perform. And that's
yeah,
like, if I could, if acting, if so much didn't rely upon having notoriety and people knowing who you are so that you continue to work, like I would be perfectly fine just having
mm,
nobody know me and just be able to act the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with me,
They
like
were
if I,
support they were supportive to an extent. Do you know what I'm saying? But ultimately they
I
just wanted what was best for me.
yeah, like with my parents, they were, as I was going into film school when I'm 19, my mom wanted me to be a teacher, and my dad wanted me to be a lawyer, and they were like skeptical. But now that I've been doing it for such a long time, doing like projects and getting myself out there, like they see it. It's part of me now. It's part like it's not like I go I have my day job. I do this. Like their support. I get support. They've always been supportive, but they see it more as a real thing. They understand how hard it is to get into it. But you know what?
Oh,
It's something that I wanted to do, and I'm very passionate about it. So
of
yeah,
course, of
I feel it.
course.
I feel you, bro. So let's talk about Ethan now, man. Like, so you were
Yeah,
doing like, let's talk about like, how did you get that? Did you send them
that
your
was,
like the sides or
what happened was, it all happened very quickly for me. Was a dancer, and then I started doing like, music videos, and then commercials, and then next thing I know, I get this audition. This was one of my first auditions.
it was
Like,
like your first feature film, no?
yeah, it was like my first big thing. I think
Yeah.
I was 17, or
Wow.
I was old enough to work though, like
Yeah.
completely. So I auditioned for it and went to a callback, and next thing I know, I booked it, and then it was great because
Wow.
we shot it in Alhambra.
Okay.
So for me, I'm like, heck yeah, dude. I mean, my goal. Do you remember? I mean, this is going back, but I don't know if you remember in Whittier, there used to be a juvenile facility.
Yeah,
Like a
they
okay,
closed it
well,
down, I
yes,
think.
but I would always, every time, just being from that area, I would always see productions happening. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean? And my goal was always like, I want to book a job that's gonna work there because I could just like walk to work. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
it's a dream.
Never got that, but Alhambra was close enough. So that was great. I mean, it was a big learning experience for me. I still keep in contact with the director. We've worked
Cool.
together afterwards. We're going to be working together soon. So he was just awesome for believing in me, trusting me, and he just really knew how to like work with
Communicate with you.
us. Yeah, for sure.
And for those who don't know about your movie Ethan Mount, do you want to give a little description, Lee?
Yeah. It's kind of like a God, I don't even know how to put it. Okay, so I'm gonna try.
Well, I like it's Ethan Mount's the main character, and he gets kicked out because he's gay, because like they found like
Yeah,
a gay magazine, and then he starts working in the streets, and he
yeah,
meets
yeah.
your character,
Oh
and
yeah. And I'm a hustler slash drug dealer, and with a heart.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, and so we start, and I just kind of we're gonna go back to his house and take some money and get some stuff and kind of do our own thing. But while we do that, we get caught, and so instead of like we just end up getting cornered, and so what does he decide to do? But we end up holding the family hostage,
yeah.
and then that escalates, and then a lot of familial stuff comes to light because we have no choice. It's mainly him having to face a lot of family stuff.
His family stuff. Yeah,
And I'm just happened to be there for a long, trying to be supportive, but yet this is all like, all right, this is happening right now, and so it was you have no choice but to deal with these things because you have
yeah.
nowhere to go.
You're not into there.
Yeah.
So you have
So
this dysfunctional family, because like when I saw it like a very long time ago, because I saw the promotions to the movie when I was a health educator, and my job was to go to like bars and promote not abstinence, but like safe sex,
yeah,
And I was seeing like the promotions to your movie. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I want to check that out.
yeah,
And then I checked it out yesterday, and yeah, I was like, wow, I could never pull a gun out on my dad. It was shocking,
yeah.
to
I
see
know.
that.
Yeah.
I was like, this dysfunctional.
No, I mean it was a lot of fun. It was just such a growing experience for me. It was just it was. I remember though when I had my mom, because my mom went to the premiere. It premiered at the Cinerom the
Yeah, I think it
what's it
was
called,
a
the ArcLight. It was at the ArcLight.
AF.
Yeah,
Yeah,
AFI Fest. Yeah,
yeah.
and I took my mom, and I remember she was just like, she was not.
He's like, this is
I mean,
real, right?
and so right, exactly. So it was that was always, it's like the reward of seeing yourself and seeing the people that you care about, see your work.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, it's definitely it's
Was it weird? Because like in the end of the, you have a kiss with the main character. Was that your first on screen?
yeah, it was.
So
It
I
was.
would imagine that was pretty nerve wracking to do it. You know,
Um, yeah. I mean,
and let's do it again.
again, you know what it is? My brain, my brain is works in such a way that like if I think it's work, I completely shut everything out and I'm like, this is what I got to do, and everything becomes very not mechanical, but like I kind of have to hype myself up so that I don't get inside my own head. Do you know
I
what I
see.
mean? So I just, it was just the first time it was like, because as much as I had with Junie, we had been on set for a while, and he's a great guy, and um it was just, again, it's just the having all sorts of cameras and people around you, and that's what makes it awkward. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
just like,
for reals.
and it's the technical stuff that gets kind of like just awkward.
It throws you
you know?
off because it breaks the fourth
Yeah,
wall.
for sure.
Yeah.
It does, and so to kind of, like, keep honest and real in such a mechanical way is probably the tough part, but the actual kiss was not, you know,
So
it's the job, you know, so
yeah, I got you, man. Like that's pretty fearless because I would have been. I'm like, oh my god, and like a bunch of people are watching me, because I would. I'm a shy guy, even though like I'm started doing stand up and I'm doing this. I'm pretty timid, you know. I wouldn't know how to deal with it, in front of a bunch of people watching me, recording me.
yeah.
uh, but like since after Ethan Mao was released, did that open up doors for you? Did you get more
You know what?
callbacks?
It it was great for me actually, and it's weirdly enough, the fan base for Ethan now has like grown each year. I get people hitting me up to this day about just seeing the movie for the first time. And then I went to go, the director, Quentin, I went to go to see, because he's producing a comedy show actually.
Yeah.
It's called Comedy Invasion, a lot of Asian comedians.
Hmm.
And so I went to go check out his show. And then he was just showing me an article that just came out. I believe it was, I forget how it was connected, but I think it was like Entertainment Weekly or something like that. But they had brought up just like gay representation with minorities and things like that, and they were just talking all sorts of really good stuff about it and how it was a cult classic,
Yeah.
and it's like the gift that keeps on giving, and it's great. Like I just I've had a lot just
Like it took a
people.
life of its own.
Yeah. And that's the great part. But yeah, it did open a lot of doors for me, in terms of like, because it was at AFI.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of really big films were also showing there. So a lot of directors, and so that was a big opportunity. So but again, I had this tendency as a when I first started out, is because I was so new, and because I had no connections or no real guidance. I didn't really know how to parlay things into the next. Do you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Did you have
Uh,
a manager at the time, or were you
I
just?
didn't. I'm telling you, like, this all happened within like 4 months of me just getting signed. I got
Wow.
my first movie. I started working as a dancer. I started doing commercial. So it all happened very quickly that I didn't really have any kind of guidance. And I'm also not a good schmoozer. Like, I'm not.
Mhm. Really,
Networking is.
I don't get that from you. I feel like
Oh,
you're
dude.
like a social butterfly. I
I
mean,
like what, I like to talk to people like genuinely. Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? Like, but to go to the parties and like do the whole networking thing, I just
timid.
don't feel like authentic. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't like, I just don't, I've never been good. So for me, it's a longer road in terms of just letting my work speak for itself, and actors that have hired me. But I'm okay with that because relationships I've
Yeah.
built are genuine and honest, and they, it's just, it's taken longer, but they're like solid. It's not your typical LA
Yeah.
relationships that
It's
ship
rooted.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, like I know what you mean, man. Because like our part of our job is to network, and I feel very weird. Just kind of like people are hanging out like in a group. And it's like, hey guys, how you doing? It's like, who's this
Yeah.
bozo? It's weird. But I usually that's why I kind of just chill at the bar, and then whoever like I start talking to next to at the bar, that's who I start networking
Yeah.
with. I don't know
Yeah.
how I could penetrate. But you know what? I guess it gets easier at time, like as you get older. Because
Some
I could tell you
some
definitely
people
now I'm more are natural with it.
yeah. I'm still I just some people are just blessed with that gift. I'm not one of them.
um, a lot of people don't know this, but you actually worked with Edward James Olmos as well,
I
and with
did.
Walkout.
That was,
Yeah, and
oh
how
man,
was that? How was that
was
experience?
whew, that was to me as an actor.
Oh, can you
Like, it was
repeat
like a
that, please?
full, as,
Uh huh.
no, just as working with him is like the full, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I remember there was the process for film. Pretty much every Latino actor that I knew
Mhm.
at the time, all of us who see each other at auditions, who go out for the same stuff, we were all in the running for pretty much every role. Pretty much
I
the
see.
solid core of actors around my age, my,
Everybody was there,
you know,
like who would do fit
the
that
community,
mold,
yeah,
right?
our community is very
Yeah.
small, and I still keep in contact with a lot of them. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
we just know, and I mean, at least on my, as far as we've always been very supportive of each other. It's just a really close kind of community. I mean, we're not like going out every day and like hanging out, but there's just um, that bond of going through it and kind of growing in the industry together. So
Yeah.
pretty much everyone that I ever went out for other roles like up against, we all pretty much got cast. However, one of the things that I remember specifically is they brought me in for pretty much every role. And and what happened was, or so I was told, they were having problems with me getting approved. So it's one thing to have a good
It's
audition.
because it is it because you weren't part of the union?
No, 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 no. It had nothing to do with
Oh,
that.
okay.
It
Oh,
just
okay.
literally, like, for example, like if I'm gonna go on a show, I did an episode of Shameless, right?
Mhm.
So I auditioned for Shameless. The producers like me, the director likes me, whatever. Then the network has to like you, and the network has to
Oh,
approve you.
that's right. That's
So
right.
there's a whole different layer to that. So for
Mhm.
whatever reason, and I'm still to this day, I'm always asking what could have possibly been the reason why they were having issues. But because the casting director and because Edward himself, for me, like
Mhm.
they really just wanted it seemed as though for other roles, but like again, that for whatever reason I wasn't getting approved and
That's crazy.
or the sign off, but they were just like we got to get this guy in the film. We got to get in the film. So they
Mhm.
just were putting me everywhere, and everyone else pretty much the role that they went out for, that's the role that they got. Like they didn't get swapped out all, like the way. I mean, I went from just pretty much every character in there. And he was just awesome, man. Like he worked with me while we were auditioning, and I could just tell him and the casting director Rick were just. I mean, I've never felt so supported, and like they were so in my corner until they finally got the network to approve on the role that I
Mhm.
got, and it ended up working out. But it was just a truly like wow, like I've like
And
little
you
check
landed
off.
it.
Do you know what I mean? Like little
Yeah.
things that for
You
me
check
they might
off.
not be much to a lot of people, but for me, like I'm like wow, like I had to take a step back and like it was just surreal, you know. And to
Yeah.
work with my friends was like just the cherry on top. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, since it was, Edward James Olmos, did he, like, talk to you? Did he direct you, or did he direct people in a group? You know what I mean? Did you have, like did you talk to him
He
personally?
was no, of course, yeah, 100%,
Oh,
yeah. I mean,
oh,
I'm
can
telling you,
you repeat that? Because
sorry, is my connection a little off today? I think
yeah,
so.
like, kinda like,
I,
I yeah.
I'm sorry.
Don't
Um,
even worry about it, man. It's
I
because
just, I
it
just,
sounds like a good it sounds like a good like, a good, what you had to
uh,
say, how do you repeat it, you know?
no, he took, we actually spent a solid amount of time working together just in the auditions, let alone once we were on
Wow.
set. Yeah, he would like I'm telling you, he was in my corner like
He
so
was hands-on.
100%. And then
Good.
on
That's cool.
set, he was just a delight, man. And he was just like a director. It was one-on-one direction, scene by scene. It was never like, all right, guys.
I got you. It's
Do that. There we go.
Yeah, like I think you know what happened. Like you started moving, and then like it started spazzing out, so it's starting to catch up
Oh shoot,
on your motion. You know what I
gotcha.
mean?
I'll,
It's all
I'll stay
it's
still.
all gravy. Yeah, like just stay like
Um,
this. Nah, it was cool, dude.
totally
But yeah, if you could just repeat that
for
part
sure.
again, please.
Very hands on. You
Okay.
know, I worked one both in the audition and on set, and his approach was just he talked to you like a person of how to approach your character like in a
Yeah.
grounded way.
Gotcha.
He trusted you. Do you get him?
Yeah.
He would like I want you to do what you're doing. I want anything changed, then I'll tweak it. But each and every one of us to do our interpretation of each character,
Now,
which was great.
do you think it's because he started off as an actor, so he understood like what it was to be like, you know what I
I'm
mean? An
I'm
actor.
yeah, I percent think that that is a huge reason. I think from my a lot of the best directors have some form of experience being in front of the camera,
Okay.
and how to work with actors. You know,
Yeah.
because I think a lot of like you know sometimes you're working with I it has never really happened to me, but I've seen it happen to people I'm working with
Hmm.
where instead of I feel like if let's say an actor is struggling with something, either getting there, whether it's lines or whatever, um, to add more pressure of getting it right,
Hmm.
kind of like let the actor kind of like collect themselves, move forward, and fight through it. You'll actually be more effective in getting what you need because um, to like start, dude, we got to get the shot, we got to do this, we got that, we got to get it. Just it's a snowball. It's
I
worse
got you,
because the
man.
actors get into their head, and I feel like the director knows that their approach to getting the performance out is just it's a day for sure.
So what can a director do to inspire an actor
Um,
to
like inspire their
yeah, the performance. How what can a director
I
do to help them out?
yeah, I think sorry, motorcycle brick.
It's cool, man.
What was I gonna say? I think um knowing how to has already done as opposed to being like that doesn't work, picking stuff that they did like
Hmm.
and like magnifying that. So for example, like, oh, I really like what you did here. Like that was a really good moment. Like let's focus more on that, be that kind of approach rather than pointing
I
out
see.
like I'm not sure if that was the take, or if you leave it open ended. I think that's probably the worst when you're just give me something else. Like
I
for
see. Oh, might give me some direction, right?
I will give you what you need. You know what you want, and I've my coach that for many years his whole thing was always subtlety. And so for me, when I'm on set, like I can quite literally almost gauge exactly where to end, where the director wants me. So for me, I just like
I
to
see.
know what it is that you would like, as opposed to just like else. Or sometimes you do have a good time. Like I feel like once you already get the shot that both you feel comfortable, well, mainly the director, obviously, once they're
Yeah.
happy with what they get and you're able to just play, that's always fun too. Where it's just like we got it, but now let's just have fun. Let's just
Yeah,
what do
let's
you
see
want to
where it
do with it?
goes.
That's different. But if it's like I'm not sure we're getting it, try something else. Like Okay.
Yeah, like
What
what?
you
Because
like?
I seen David Lynch where he said like it was behind the scenes. He was directing an actor. It's like, okay, let's do it again, but better, and then action. I'm like, well, what? Like what? What do you want
Right.
them to
And then
do? You know?
that's it only, I mean, and it also could be what kind of, because me as a person, like I like clarity. Do you know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I'm also very like decisive. So, I if I'm gonna go someplace, I know what I'm gonna eat. Like I know what
Yeah,
I like. Like I don't spend too much time on a menu. Like if
I
you know what I
got you,
mean,
man.
I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
let's
what's
go.
you have your favorite dish. I'm gonna get
You know.
this. I'm
So
the
I
same
just
way.
like,
Like, go for it.
no, go ahead. No, I feel like
Oh
you have
no,
a
no,
good
I was
point.
just saying the same thing because like when I go to the mall, I don't fuck around there. I just like I need a size 32 pants and I'm getting the hell out of there. I don't I don't dick around and start I need
One
to get out.
100%, man. I hate
Yeah,
shopping, and
yeah,
that's exactly what I do. I'm like, if I go to the mall, it's because I know that I need like a shirt
yeah.
or like whatever it is. But I don't I don't go all over the place. But yeah,
So with walkout, like how many days did you spend on set? Like,
I spent on set, I think, a total of 4 days. I only had two scenes because my guy,
mhm.
the guy that I was playing, his name was Ray Chapa, who was an actual person. Everybody was
Like
real
they're
people.
based on real characters.
Yeah, exactly. He was actually Latino that was like against the movement and
Really?
against, yeah. So he was very he was trying very hard to be accepted in a very, just wanted to kind of separate himself from the Latino community
Hmm.
and go with what he felt society kind of wanted he should be,
Uh-huh.
and so I was a bit of, I wouldn't say, yeah, a bit of an antagonist really,
Hmm.
because I would shoot down the ideas of Alexa's character.
Hmm.
um and yeah, it was I believe I was there for about 4 or 5 days for my scenes, and then I would go in whenever there was like classroom scenes and stuff like that, but
I got you, man.
for the actual like walkout, you know.
Yeah. And I saw that movie at Nalip. I don't know if you were there. I don't think it was like a 2005. That's where we saw like Edward James Olmos was like doing like Q&A there too. He was talking
Yeah,
about it. Yeah, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
I was there in the back watching it. I'm like, this is cool.
Oh,
And
nice.
I saw Edward James Olmos, like I was too intimidated to talk to him because he has like such a presence, like
Dude, but he couldn't be the most. I mean, he is just a extremely like just a lovely
likable.
human being. He is just, I mean, just warm. Like I mean, I totally get what you're saying though about his presence, because he does have a presence, a hundred
Mhm.
percent. But he's the kind of person that would have a conversation and take the time to talk to you. You know what
Got
I'm
you, man.
saying?
That's
Always with a
dope.
smile, for sure. Yeah.
And what advice would you give an inspiring actor? Um, if
What
you
would
have
I?
any, yeah, what would you give somebody who wants to get into the entertainment industry as an actor? Uh, that you wish that somebody gave it to you.
Yeah, I think the advice that I would give is, obviously, I mean, I feel like everybody always says, like, just follow your dreams and try hard, which is all great. That's all great. But like, to legit, what the kind of advice that I want when I was a kid was like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? Like,
Mm,
okay, like I would say try, actors access and like break down certain stuff like that, project that you can get on and audition for to get yourself a reel, I think, is
yeah.
important. Obviously, it's about preparation, and to be dedicated and know the reason why you want. Like, if you want to be famous, you're gonna you're setting yourself up for failure, and I mean that in
Hmm.
the sense where, because if that's what you're shooting for, like, and you're not getting it as quickly as you would like, then your drive and your passion for what it is that you're doing is going to dwindle at some point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's having a substantial career is a long game, you know. It's
Mhm.
not something that you just like should give up on quickly. You know what I'm saying? You got to stick with it and make sure that it's the path that you want, and prepare, man. Figure out, you know, again, I wish I had kept everything that I had first started out doing. Like, I don't have footage of pretty much anything that I first did
Oh
because I was
man.
just like, would do it. Yeah. So that's what I would do. I would, if I was starting out, I'd keep a reel. You know, I would sign up for Actors Access. I would start that way so that when I go to an agency, I have something to show. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? And then especially now with social media, man, I think if you can collaborate with people, if you can put yourself out there, and really showcase what kind of talent you are. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, I can't do stand up.
Mhm.
I think, to me, I admire comedians, and stand up comedians in particular are just like at the highest on my pedestal, just the people that I'm just admire, because
Mhm.
I could never do that. Like, it just requires so much guts and like
Yeah.
tenacity that um but if that's what you want to do, then showcase that. If you want to do
Mhm.
more drama, or if you're, like more comedy, or say, like, use social media. That's something that you know can really help you out. You
Yeah.
know, and it's those little things. And prepare. You can never learn. There's always something new to learn. Always.
Absolutely. Like even though I've been, we've been doing this for a while. Like there's a lot of things that you experience. I'm like, oh, like I didn't know that. That's cool. Like because I started doing like these open mics to start like, and I bombed one night because like there was like a little bit of people like in the audience and they weren't getting it because I was doing some Mexican jokes and they were
Yeah.
mostly Caucasians and they weren't
Yeah.
getting it. They didn't know what the hell I was talking about. And then I was diving. Like I was sweating. The lights were bearing down on me. I'm like, fuck, man. And I still have 4 more minutes.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
and then like finally, like as I was done with my set, later on, as the show was gonna close, there was a Hispanic, Latino guy. He came in and did a set, and he was busting some Latin jokes too. I'm like, and I was laughing. I'm like, where were you in the beginning? Like where
Yeah.
were you? But yeah, like I started when it started to tank is because I started to get in my head was what you were saying. It's like, oh man, it's like I should have just gone there, just my personality, and
Yeah.
just do it. Because the
Yeah.
other time I did it, I was just doing there. I was just doing me. I was just doing my own personality. I was like, I didn't care who was doing it. So
Yeah.
each time I'm learning as I go along.
Yeah,
It's a
no, and
learning
I
curve.
think that's a great point, and I think that's a great another thing of advice is find what makes you special.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing as an actor. Find, because look, that's another. I mean, I take a lot from what my coach told me, but one of them in particular was no one can play you better than you can.
True.
And
Good.
that is, if you try to act like somebody else, if you try to give casting what you think that they want,
It's gonna come
it
out fake.
you have to connect with, like, start looking at your work and like, oh my god, that's the kind of, like, I'm starting to see what makes me special, like certain ways that I speak, or certain
Yeah.
sensibilities, some kind of what my humor is like, you know what I'm saying? And when you start to really fine tune those little things that are just naturally within
You.
you,
Yeah.
it just becomes, you become alive, and you're able to be free when you perform because you're
That's some good
connected.
advice.
You're
That's really good
connected.
advice, man. Well, I'll use that next time. Okay, so let's I wrote this question I want to ask you. What was one role that
Yeah.
you wanted that you didn't get? Like you was like, fuck, I want that role, but you didn't land it. And you were kind of like bummed out about it. And like it took you a while to get over it.
You know what? I I'm sure there was one, like, when I first started out. Oh, well, no, I did. I was just gonna say, because honestly, man, I want everything that I go out for,
I see.
but I don't hang on to it. I normally, like, I'm like a set it and forget it kind of guy. Like, I
Gotcha.
audition and release it. You know what I'm saying? Lately, there have been some roles that I'm like, oh man, this could really really
Yeah.
do something. There's one role that a friend of mine ended up booking actually. I guess recently, yeah, there was this one role. I can't really talk about it, but I will say what kind of role it was.
Sure.
I want to play an antagonist so bad. I've
Mhm.
always connected with. I like cerebral characters, and I feel like with an antagonist, like you can really delve into it, and it's within me. It's just that what I look like and what
Yeah.
normally like it just requires
I
tattoos
see.
or shape, and so I finally let release that and realized,
Mhm.
all right, you know what? This is just what I got to work with, right? But there
Gotcha.
was this role that he's a lawyer and he works with the cartel, and
Mhm.
he's obviously sketchy, but he's almost trustworthy, right?
Mhm.
So the reason why I really like this character is because I was able to have fun with like the darker side of it, but still work with a little bit of likability and like
Yeah.
kindness to him, which was always it's fun for me because that's the kind of like the only antagonist that I can really that I connect with are the ones that are like unassuming, because if you're looking for like a gangbanger or like that's not
Yeah.
me. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's just, so that one I really wanted because I had fun with it, man. I connected with it and I was
Yeah.
like, I know this guy. Like it
Yeah.
was so much. And then that was it, and then I had a friend who got it and I was like, oh, but you know what? I would rather know who got it, like personally, like I'm like, oh,
I see.
that's I'm
Like a
happy,
friend.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So it's totally different, and we're totally different kinds of actors. So obviously, we gave different performances. We're just completely
Yeah.
different. But that one because I feel like it was the close I'll get for now with the roles that I'm given and to audition,
Yeah.
where I came closest to actually booking an antagonist.
So do you feel like you're always getting typecasted as a nice guy, like the boy next door,
Oh, 100%.
or
Yeah.
yeah?
I finally
He's
gave
like,
into
yeah,
it though. Like I stopped. I
that's
was
cool.
like, you know what? The world, the universe is telling me this is what I'm working with. And thankfully because of it, it has allowed me to my bread and butter is commercials, right?
Mhm.
And it's because of that, because I'm you know, I'm
Yeah.
always playing the good guy. So thankfully, because of that, I'm able to just focus on acting, right?
Yeah.
But as of late, I finally gave into it, and I'm like, you know what? As much as I would love to play an antagonist, as much as I want to play a villain and do all these things, I'm just gonna go and follow my own advice and do and follow what makes me me and
Mhm.
what I have to work with. And once I accepted that, man, the thing that I've been working on for the past like year, even through COVID, and it's been working for me, is I've been playing cops.
Okay.
I've been playing cops,
I
and
seen I seen photos of you like dressed as a cop. I'm like, okay, that's cool.
yeah, I think I'm like on my third cop, and then I have another role coming up who's also he's a detective. So I'm finally like,
Okay.
you know what? I'm gonna lean into this. I'm gonna do it, and hopefully I can land like a regular on like a CSI or something. So I'm like
That'll be dope, dude.
manifesting that, and
Yeah.
but yeah, no. So now I'm like, I don't try to fight it anymore. I go where like because I feel
But
like if I'm going into an audition already like God, why can't I just be be auditioning for the other role? Then
yeah,
I'm
that's
not
like
gonna I'm
negative.
not gonna get
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I finally like threw that kind of mentality out the door, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go in and do the best job that I possibly can. And and that's all I can do.
Do you feel like when we do get casted, do you get directors where say like hype up your accent, like give yourself an accent because
Oh,
you're laughing? You know
dude.
what I mean? Like, because I
They
was like,
don't
it's like, can
yeah.
you say essay? Oh, my people don't say
No,
essay
it's
anymore. You know?
yeah, 100%. Okay, well, it's funny. I was just talking about this with this shoot I just had a few days ago, with the girl that was playing my girlfriend, because she kind of has the same thing
Mhm.
where I speak English a certain. I'm completely fluent. I know Spanish. I know English. Spanish was actually my first language, but my dad at home made it like a point for me not to have an accent. You know,
Oh
those are
wow.
his own issues being like projected on me, but like that's just how I grew up, is making sure, because like he just did not want me to have an accent. So it does, you know, like I have to make the conscious decision of when I feel as an actor like, okay, this character probably
Does have an accent,
does have an
because yeah,
accent, but I will bring it. I've never really had anybody like um tell me to like make them more Latin. Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But there is, you know, it's hard. It's taken longer for me to to build like a more like to book more roles, because the roles are very stereotypical,
yeah.
you know, and ultimately I'd have to either buzz my head for the most part,
Mhm.
um, and then that would kill where I actually, you know, a lot of other opportunities.
Yes.
So I have to wait a lot longer for the roles. That's why, like now with the whole cop thing, it's been working for me, and I'm running with it because that I can
Oh,
do. Do you know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
I
Like,
absolutely know what you're saying, man. And
but
like it happens to us a lot. Like even like minorities, we get stereotyped a lot. And when I was writing some scripts, I remember giving it to like a white guy. He worked in Fox, and he didn't read the script, but he was assumed like, so what kind of Mexican music do you have in this script? I'm like, Mexican music. I have Weezer, I have Radiohead, System.
right,
You know what I mean? I'm like, what?
yeah,
Like he's putting me like in the box, and it really it annoys the hell out of me, you know. And it's a
yeah.
little better now. But I was watching this show called Young Justice. Have you ever heard of this show? It's like Justice League. It's an animated show.
No, 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 no.
But one of the characters is called Blue Beetle.
But
Oh,
I
that's
think
right. That's right. So you should know. But
I do,
one of
I do. It took me a minute because I was thinking of something else. I was thinking of a court show.
no, I could totally see like Young Justice. Like, what is it
Right.
like Night Court? No,
Yeah,
but one of the main characters, his name is Blue Beetle, and
yeah,
he's Mexican, he's Latin, but
yeah.
they have him say the most outdated terms, like no essay, you listen to me. I'm like, no, dude, you have him say dog or bro or dude or man, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've
Or
had
fool.
scripts like that show up, and I'm just like, "Oh, yo,
Yeah,
this is so."
it's like written by Chad Smith.
It's well, right, it's just so
yeah,
I'm like, "This is clearly not written by somebody who knows
yeah.
who this character is," because I'm like, "We
And
don't
when you
talk
do
like
bring
that."
yeah, and when you do bring it up, it almost seems like you're being negative. Like that's
100%.
what you know what I mean? I'm like, no, I'm not being negative. I'm telling you how it
Yeah, but
is,
then you're
We don't talk
difficult. Then you're
well,
classified as difficult
exactly,
because it's
exactly.
like,
He's
"But no."
blacklisted. It's like, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, or like, "Oh, it's because you're not Latin." Like, that's I get that. I can tell when I go into a room and it's like, "You're not Latin enough." I'm like,
Mm,
"Dude,
like, come
like,
on.
I couldn't be like, I straight up Spanish was my first language, like,
Yeah, it's my
I'm
heritage.
I'm like, this is, but, it's still a struggle, man.
Yeah.
It's still, especially if you're kind of like in our I would say, generation really, where it's like we're coming to bipolar, so it becomes a situation where like we really are both, you know?
Yeah.
It's tricky to be like have to like only listen to a certain kind of music, or I'm like, well, like I say dude,
There's culture everywhere, So that's what I love about LA, that there's like diversity, like where like you go to other places, like people go into like their little community,
for sure,
Asian, mostly black, and here like well, mostly Norwalk or like our hood, Pico Rivera. It's like it's mixed. Like you see like
100%.
white guys, Asians, like we're all there. And I was when my nephew was small, like we went to a Chuck E. Cheese, and
Yeah,
I looked around, and there was like a bunch. Everybody was mixed. I'm like, this is awesome. Like
yeah,
I don't have a problem with it. I love it. It should be like that.
100%.
But that's since we're on this topic. What do you prefer? Do you prefer Latinx or Hispanic? Because like I think
No, it's
Latinx is just like I don't like the term. you
Well,
know?
the only reason I've come around with Latinx, because again, for me, labels, period, I don't really care for. I'm just quite literally just Jerry. So I'm a
Hmm.
bunch of I'm everything. I don't necessarily like labels, but when it came to Latinx, the reason why it actually resonated with me, it wasn't even like a like, oh yay, like it's what we're all saying now. It has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that, but it actually happened when I was with a friend of mine and we were actually discussing like what's the difference between Hispanic and Latino,
Hmm.
and I'm neither actually,
Hmm.
because Hispanic is if you are from Spain, and Latino is if you are from a country where Spanish is the first language. So I'm
Yeah.
American. So I'm neither.
Hmm.
So I finally was like, well, the reason why Latinx for me resonates more and it makes more sense for me is because it does
Okay.
encompass every
Okay.
kind of aspect. So that's the only reason, only because as much as I call myself Latino, like I'm technically not,
Hmm.
because I'm born in a country, I'm American, where our official language is English. So, and I'm not from Spain.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's when I was like, okay, well, this actually makes sense.
I got
Uh,
you, man.
because
Because
it's
like,
hard. I mean, we're so I mean, we cover so many different continents. You know what I'm saying? It's just so many. We're such. There's such a
it's big.
wide spectrum of who we are. Different skin tones, different ways of different accents. It's just so different that it's hard. And so I think with Latinx, it kind of it's an umbrella for every you know
Yeah,
shade.
I got. I totally
Color,
understand. For me, I like to be called a Chicano because I feel like
yeah,
because
that
because for me, like it's what you said. Like I'm not from Mexico, but like when say if I go to Mississippi, they don't see me as an American. They see me like as a Mexican. I just crossed
right.
the border, so it's like I'm not either American or Mexican. So I'm
Yeah.
Chicano. I'm in between. I'm a person without a state or without a country. So yeah, that's my term that I use.
No, for
Uh,
sure. Yeah, makes sense.
so since you have the Batman in the background, I
Yeah,
just thought about something. Did you watch the new trailer to the Dark Knight or the Batman
the
with
Batman.
with Robert Pattinson as Batman, and they had the
The
Riddler?
you know what? I remember watching it just because I was curious about
It looks
Colin Farrell
dope,
as
dude.
the villain. Yeah. I'm totally stoked. I'm always open for Batman. What the irony is with me and Batman is I love Batman, but he's my favorite hero. 'Cause I think it's just because his whole world is so dark.
Yeah,
Like villains, I love the villain. Me, obviously, there's a common
yeah,
theme here with villains,
yeah,
but normally, I'm not impressed by here comics where the hero doesn't have like some kind of cool power. So it's ironic because Batman, is just he has no kind of like supernatural ability or like
yeah.
kind of
He's human. Like he's
yeah.
just somebody
So
who wants to justify like the crime that's being
right,
rampant in
right, right.
Gotham.
And
It's
he's
like
an anti-hero, which is
yeah,
what resonates with me.
I
And
got you.
and for me, like for me, X-Men was always those were and that's one role that I always like. I've put it out in the universe forever, but I want to play Morph
Morph.
so badly. Yeah.
I don't know that character too well.
Okay, so
Is he like kind of like Mystique, where like he could change like to anything?
yes, very much like that. But his story, and I think it's just being like he felt like he turned he turned dark because he felt like his friends left him behind, and so it's the whole thing with Apocalypto. And
Hmm.
but anyway, I don't know why, I just have always, I'm like,
You
I want
wanted
to,
to play that like
yeah,
that
for sure,
character.
for sure.
And for the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, I heard it's gonna be like it's like close to like a horror movie, and like the Riddler, like he's psychotic, almost like from Seven, type of
Really, yeah,
movie. Oh,
yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah. So I'm really peaked. That looks really cool, man. And actually, like somebody just commented, my friend Josh, he said,
Yeah.
"I have a question. What kind of advice would you give to someone who wants to dabble in acting part time and has zero experience and zero training or education?"
Oh, dude. Like I said, if I would go on Actors Access, man. Actors Access has a lot of opportunities, and you can submit yourself anywhere, anything from student films, there's commercials, just to kind of like get your feet wet and get some experience, and just so that you kind of get the ins and outs. And it's just I always I work with kids like via Zoom, and I work with them in terms of like acting for commercials and like TV and stuff like that. And it's such a good resource, Actors Access, because you can submit yourself and you don't need to go through the whole like get an agent and feel like you have to have all this kind of like experience. You can kind of dip your feet into it and see if it's something that you like. And if it is, then you can continue pursue it. And always don't be like me. Save your work, save your
From
stuff,
experience.
you're real, keep it all together, because trust me, it's I regret that. I'm like, oh wait, that's great. Like I'll just get like, hey, I just saw you. Yeah, I'm glad somebody did, because I've also, all the work that I've done is just kind of, now I do, but like back then I did.
Do you ever have somebody recognize you, like just walking? It's like, hey,
You
you
know
were in
what?
that thing.
Yeah, I guess coincidentally would be the word, but I've done a lot of Spanish commercials, pretty much for like anything from like Pepsi to Coke to, I mean, anything, any commercial. So I think there was a spot that aired a few years ago. It was for Pepsi, and I was at the market. I was at Ralph's, and I'm at the checkout. He goes, "Hey." Because it was the manager who I always see. He's like, hey, you're the Pepsi guy, huh? I was like, yeah, I am.
That's cool, man.
So that was fun. And you know what it is? I get happier. I if people recognize me or not, it's whatever. That's the one that sticks out the most, just because I'm like, dude, like it made me happy because I know the guy, right?
Yeah.
But it makes me happier when it's like my parents' friends. That they're like, hey, we saw your son. Like they'll talk to them about it.
Yeah.
That makes me happy because it makes my parents proud. And
absolutely.
So that I really, that's when they'll tell me about stuff like that. Or like, I forgot we were at the park because my nephew was playing soccer, and their friends or whatever, they're like, oh yeah, we saw you. Like I forget that, like,
you forget that you're an actor. You're just doing your thing.
Like I forget it. Like I forget that. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like I mean, but I also forget that like it's like a big deal to some people, like to see, and because for me it's a job. Like I forget that. But yeah, I've had, I think that's the one that just because of how the interaction was. But every once in a while it's because of Ethan Mao. Ethan Mao will like always, like, people will come up to me and like I said, it's like I know when it just got released in a new country or on a new platform, or because I'll get like this influx of like followers or messages. So it comes in waves. Every few months, cool. Like a new audience, which is nice. Yeah.
Oh, Josh has another question. I don't know if you want to answer this, but it's like, do you mind me asking, on average, how much a commercial pays or a small role? I always been intrigued in how they determine who gets paid what. Thanks.
Awesome.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, for sure. So there's also obviously there's commercials that you can book that are union, that they go under the SAG
umbrella.
Umbrella. So you get paid like by those rates, and then there's non-union. So a lot of commercials nowadays have been going towards the non-union, and you get something like that's called a buyout. So you'll get, let's say they want to use you for a commercial for, X, Y, and Z brand, right? They'll pay you like $5,000, but that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
No residuals.
No residuals. Now, if you work a SAG commercial, they will pay you something around like $500 for the actual shoot, right? But the money comes in with the residuals, because every time it airs, you get paid. Now, you get paid in different amounts. If it plays on, like, let's say Channel 4, NBC, that check is much bigger than, let's say,
because it's a huge network.
Right. Rather than, like I don't know, Stars or something because it's cable, right? And it's less. It has, I mean, because like you have these big like HBO and all that stuff. Those are big channels. However, because they're cable, you get paid less.
Yeah.
And so it just depends because I've booked commercials where I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like, I just booked a Bud Light commercial, and then they switched agencies, ad agencies, and the commercial gets scrapped. So I only
Wow.
made what I got paid for the day, and maybe just a few times it airs, and that's it. There was a friend of mine was just telling me that they had a client. There was a client within their agency that booked 6 national commercials, okay, back to back to back to back, which that if they were to have ran, you're looking at like 6 figures, right?
Wow.
None of them got picked up. None of
Wow, that
them.
sucks.
So I was just like, oh, that's a heartache, man, because it's like you're thinking like, because if you like, let's say you book a commercial like Bud Light, that's a big brand, right? You think like, whoa, this is gonna be great. It's gonna air.
Yeah.
But you just never know what is happening behind the scenes, because if they switch campaigns altogether
That's
and
it.
you were part of the first one, then that's it. But those are the 2 main ways of getting paid. And no, there is no, like, for example, if I'm in the commercial for 5 seconds and a guy is in the commercial for the whole 30 or the whole minute, we get paid the same, unless they are an actor who gets paid, which is called above scale, which, like, let's say they're one of those actors in commercials that you recognize or that or they're like a celebrity that gets paid. They don't get paid like the regular rate. They get paid like what their daily rate is. But if you're all just regular actors and I'm in it for 5 seconds and the other guys for 30, we both get paid the exact same thing for a SAG commercial.
Yeah.
I've done commercials where quite literally my hands were the only thing that showed up. No lie, dude. No lie. My hands. And I thought I got cut out of the commercial, but then the residuals started coming in. I'm like, all right,
Fuck
I'll
it.
take it. I'll take it. Because sometimes if you're not recognizable in a commercial, you don't get paid. So there's also
Wow.
those situations. Yeah.
Shit.
For sure. But also you have the people that do voiceover. So let's say I'm the guy that, like, I just did a whole commercial about, oh, McDonald's, whatever. And then you have the voiceover saying, now at McDonald's, if you buy 2, whatever, that person also gets paid the same rate as the people on camera every time the commercial airs.
Interesting.
Yeah. So hopefully that answers your question. But yes, non-union, a lot of what they do is buyout, which it's much more of a, like, a for sure thing. Like, at least I know this is what I'm making.
Yeah.
Other commercial, you get paid for the day and for the fitting and whatever things that come with the shoot. And then you hope it airs. You hope it airs. If it airs well, awesome. You're gonna make great money. But it could also not air at all.
Yeah.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, it's kind of like shooting a pilot, right?
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Exactly like that.
Like, I have a friend who was booked for a national commercial. He booked Pine Sol, and he had his photos like in Canada. Like, he had like his, doing the whole like photo shoot. And it funded his 3-month trip to Europe. So he was telling me about it. He made like a lot of money doing it because he was the guy. It was the main guy. It was just him. He was they hired him because he knows how to break dance, so like he was doing all these moves as he was cleaning it in the commercial. It's pretty cute. But I'm like, wow, man, that's major to land a national commercial like that,
Yeah, no, that's awesome, because it also, now within your contract, they can include print work, like what your friend was doing. So he gets paid for the print and he gets paid for the commercial. And now there's social media. So let's say the commercial is on their official YouTube account, whatever the brand is, you also get paid for that. So it just depends on where it airs, and that's what kind of dictates how much money you're going to make. Like, if it's airing, I did a spot for a company where we shot little GIFs, right? Or GIFs, whatever they're.
GIFs. Yeah, I don't know what I'm calling them GIFs.
Yeah, okay.
Like
GIFs.
peanut butter.
What was I going to say? it was us like doing like a little boomerang, and we got paid for those because they would put them on their social media pages, like Instagram, whatever it was. So those are the little things that kind of tell you how much money you're going to make.
I got you, man. And since we were talking about pilots a little bit ago, did you ever shoot a pilot?
You know what? No.
No.
I
Okay.
mean, like not for a reg. I've done stuff where I'm like a recurring in a pilot. Like,
Yeah.
so I'll shoot it, and they're like, "All right, so you're a guest star for this pilot, but this character is going to eventually be a recurring if it gets picked up."
I got you, man.
But not a regular. No.
I know we talked a little briefly about your dancing career because you're a teacher, you're an instructor.
Yeah, yeah.
And can you talk to us a little bit about like who are your influences to be like as a dancer,
As a
as a
dancer,
yeah.
well, it all comes down to being a performer, man. Like I know this is super cheesy, or take it how you will, because for me it was everything, right? The reason why I wanted to be a performer was because I swore that I wanted to be Ricky Martin. No lie. Like that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to just perform, and when like I wanted the fireworks, I just wanted to perform.
Yeah.
So dancing kind of was just an extension of that. When my agent told me you have to go to class,
Hmm.
I spent 8 hours a day for a whole summer going to class, and then I started auditioning for music videos. One of my first jobs, again, I was JoJo.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Like
was
I
I,
think
I
you're
was
in
her,
that music video, right?
yeah, I was her
Yeah,
boyfriend in that.
yeah.
And so I did a lot of dance commercials. I did some stuff, it's just music videos and things like that. But as a dancer, actually, the person that I looked up to, that I still look up to, just whenever I'm choreographing, is actually Bob Fosse.
Mhm.
Um, just one of the greatest choreographers ever. His style is incredibly effective,
Mhm.
and it's interesting to see his movement. Like there's I believe it's called something with the snake or something, but his movement and his choreography is actually so much that we think is Michael Jackson style,
I
right?
see.
But so much of it is Bob Fosse, and just it's just very intricate and fluid. And as a choreographer, he is my it's just
He's like the guy. Like I don't know
yeah.
who he is because like I don't, I don't follow
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But I
You
really wish
you
I could dance. Do you think anybody
you know
could
what?
dance?
I do believe so. I tell this to my kids whenever I teach. I'm like, look, there is no wrong way to dance. Like
Mhm.
as long as I think the thing that holds us back whenever it comes to dancing is just ourselves thinking that
Yeah.
we can't. I, not to be confused. Just because, look, this is the thing. Anybody can dance, right?
Mhm.
To professionally dance, you have to put it just depends on how much work you have to put in. Some
I
people
got
have to
you.
put in a lot more work than others. For some people it comes a lot easier. But it's I think dance is one of those things where you can express yourself however it is that you want. Now the
Mhm.
ability to pick up choreography, that's a different situation. Do you know what I'm
I see.
saying? But I feel like, I mean, again, bringing up Bob Fosse, some of the movement is like super weird, and like a lot of like fists and things like that,
Mhm.
which you look at and they don't make sense on their own, but when you see it as a picture, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is effective. So I believe that like anybody, you should never be afraid to dance. There's no wrong way to dance. It's only wrong when you believe it's wrong.
I got you. And I guess what I was also trying to ask too is like, can anybody learn how to do like the choreographed dance? You know what I mean? Like
Right.
actually like doing
Um,
the moves.
I think it just
Because
takes
I'm pretty stiff. I don't think I could do like those. You know what
right. Well, I mean, that takes a lot of, it just takes training, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily the hard part isn't necessarily picking up the choreography as much as it is executing it.
Hmm.
So that is where you really got to like focus on the training,
There's the
because
work.
because it's just practice. It's like anything. But it's how you do it that is gauged by your training.
You know,
Uh,
like I always wanted to learn the dance moves from the Jamiroquai video, virtual reality
Oh
with the conveyor belt.
yeah,
Dude,
yeah.
that looks so fucking cool. I was like, I want to fucking do that, dude. I think
But
I
see,
could do
that
that.
looks like it's just so
I know,
chill,
like, yeah,
man.
chill. Like, he's just kind
Like
of like, and he's
it's
kind
a
of like,
vibe,
yeah,
man. Like that's what it is. It's like and that's how I choreograph, that's how I move. Like if I hear a certain song, I gravitate towards the essence of the music as
mhm,
opposed to like I'm just gonna do whatever. Like that whole Jamiroquai song is just so chill that like
yeah, I
your
love
body
it.
can't be like rigid and like you know what I mean. It's gotta have that like groove to it, you know.
Yeah, that song's more relevant today than 20 years ago. It's
Oh, dude,
trippy.
it's great. It's
Yeah,
great.
I watched it yesterday because like it popped up on my TikTok feed. I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this music video again. Brought me back to middle school. What was your favorite music video, like dance video? For me, it
Oh
was like the Jamiroquai video.
God, that's a great one. Oh
Yeah,
man.
I just thought about it, so I'm sorry, like I caught you off guard,
No, no,
but I
no,
was
no.
like,
Yeah, that's a great question, man. Holy moly.
because Men in Black. Remember when Will Smith had that Men in
Yeah.
Black? He was like, yeah, he was doing that. That was '90s, but
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
I think, I mean, you know what? I remember the first music video because that's what I would do before I even just professionally. I would be in my room and try to learn choreography that I
the
saw
dance move
on in music
on
videos. And I
MTV.
think I remember the video that I ever did that with was "Try Again," Aaliyah.
Oh, okay.
So,
I know Leah.
yeah, that whole bit. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember
I
doing
remember that.
that. And then I mean a lot of the music are like before I was even born, but like um Bob Fosse, he has this whole segment from a show called Sweet Charity, which is man's honestly I'm gonna butcher this word because I never get it right, but I don't know if it's Frug or Frug for FRU. But have you seen Beyonce's video?
It's probably no, because I don't watch Beyonce.
Anyway, the reason why I bring it up is because they do an homage to it, and so it's a
Okay.
lot of intricate movement. And yeah, and that was like in the '60s. So I just I like big pictures, like what people are doing and how they just like connect with the music.
So, are you a fan of Dancing with the Stars? Not Dancing with the Stars, but like, do you think you could dance?
You know what? You would think, right? But no,
Yeah, no.
I haven't really watched it. There's some pieces that like I've popped up because friends have sent it to me, and I was like, wow, that core is great. But I
You're
don't
not
really,
into it.
I've just never like. For me, it was
Uh,
always like, this is going to be my stepping stone to my ultimate goal, which is going to be acting. So
Gotcha.
I live these different lives, but always
The main
towards
objective
one
towards
goal. Exactly. Yeah.
acting.
Yeah.
Understand? I have somebody who said that you thought she thinks that you had kids, but you're talking about the kids that you
Oh yeah, yeah.
teach.
Kids that I teach. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she thinks you're a dad.
But while my dad's on TV, no, my nephew just started. I have no kids. I teach kids, but my nephew, he's finally getting to that age where he's starting to understand what I do,
Yeah.
and because he couldn't. He just like tripped out the other day because I was like, oh, because this job I just shot, I had to
Mhm.
do a callback via Zoom while I was in Pico at my mom's. So I was like, oh God, I got to do a live Zoom. And so I had to like set up my little tripod and like,
Yeah.
and so I was like, all right, bud, I'm going to have to like be alone in the room while I do this. He's like, why? I was like, oh, it's my job. It's like, it's for commercials. So I can be on television.
Yeah.
He's like, you're on television? He's like, I was like, yeah. He's like, no, you're not. I was like, yeah, I am. And then I'm like, you got to wish me luck. He's like, okay, good luck.
That's really cool.
So then, yeah. So then after that, I showed him the stuff. He was like totally taken aback. He couldn't,
He
he's
blew
like,
his
what?
mind. He's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, he's an actor. That's cool."
So that it's moments like that. Like when other people get happy that I
It
care
makes you
about,
feel good.
that's when I feel good. Because for me, I'm just like, I just want to keep the train moving and I just want to keep performing. But
Yeah.
I don't
So,
really care for like,
how did COVID change the whole landscape of the
Whoa,
industry? It
dude.
was huge, right? I'm like,
It
I mean,
was,
with auditioning, but like also like being on set. Are people wearing like those like the visors and all that? Oh, you
oh
know?
man, I have to go. Well, especially once you're on set, because I've shot two television shows and a few commercials during COVID, and
Hmm.
especially once they put your makeup on and stuff,
Yeah.
they do the shields.
Hmm.
But prior to, man, I mean, I booked a job like the day before we went into lockdown. It was for Good Girls.
Hmm.
I went to the fitting. I was at the fitting. People were already talking about COVID, and so there was no masks yet, but we were like, hand sanitizer and like not touching anything. And then I got in the car, and then I started hearing like, oh, okay, it's looking like we might go into a lockdown by this weekend. I
Wow.
was like, all right,
It's
cool.
like, what does that mean?
Then so then little did
Like,
anybody
sure,
know,
okay.
right? So yeah, so so I get a call from my agent. They're like, all right, so they're gonna postpone the shoot for 2 weeks. I was like, okay, cool. I get it. We're in quarantine. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then they're like, production got moved for like the end of the month. I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I can do that. Next phone call, like a few days later, while production has stopped on Good Girls,
Shit.
and I was like, all right,
Oh, this is
great.
serious.
So now then everybody had to figure out how do we move, because those first months there was no new material, nobody was shooting anything,
Yeah.
um, and I've been telling this to pretty much. I like to impart whatever knowledge I've picked up because I like to hear. The things that I wish I would have heard when I was starting out, like I just share it to anybody. But like I never once would of through the years of experience and doing this, I never tangibly saw and was able to like understand though like all that work, the payoff
Mhm.
until COVID. Because I mean, I would turn the computer around, but like I had to create a studio in my house with like
Mhm.
I just went to Joann's Fabrics and got like a
Yeah.
blue blanket, and I created a voiceover booth in my closet. You just had to adapt, but because I had been doing it, I know how it was, how it goes. Like I know what needs to be framed. I know what
Mhm.
color the background should be. I know, all those little things that if
Yes.
you're just starting out during COVID, you're being kind of thrown into the deep end. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
So everything began slow. Everything was self tapes, and then in about I'd say around November, like October, I finally got a call from Good Girls. They're like, "Hey, things are starting to get back up. Can we pin you?" Pinning means we want to hold you to these dates.
Okay.
You're not fully booked, even though I had booked it before. They're like, "We're just holding you." This was a month before we even shot because there was tests. I got tested like 6 times just for one show. Um, and so once self tapes started to pick up, all the casting directors throughout my career that I had gone out
Mhm.
for, they were the ones calling, and I was like, oh my god, like I can see the payoff now,
It's the
because
networking. Yeah.
it wasn't even networking. It's
Huh?
just that they were calling in people that they have seen throughout the years, and
Nice.
they know they can deliver, and they
Yeah.
know they can, because their job is also on the line, because they don't want to, we only during COVID right now, I mean, at least then you only had a limited time of people that you could bring in, that you could bring into the callbacks, producers. So it was the first time where I was like, oh my god, people remembered the stuff I've done in the past,
Yeah.
and so that was like a moment where I was like, okay,
The
like
work's paid off.
the work finally, because you never get to see
Yeah.
that as an actor. You're just like, you do an audition, and this is the other thing. And I tell this to my kids. I'm like, don't ever be afraid and have this, because everybody talks about like um uh rejection this, and you're going to get rejected and blah 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 blah. I've never once had anybody tell me like, you suck, get out the room. Like that doesn't happen, and I don't
Yeah.
like people to get discouraged and think like they're afraid to pursue something that they're passionate about because they're
Mhm.
afraid of that. Okay, because that never happens. That just does. At least for me, I've never experienced that. What does happen is that you audition, and you either get a callback or you don't. You just don't hear anything,
Mm,
right? Which is why for me, it's important that I do the audition and forget about it.
I
Because if I'm
see.
still hanging on to it, you're gonna like
Yeah,
get a
it's gonna fuck with your head,
yeah.
right?
So during COVID, you would send in your self tape and hope for the best because you weren't even getting any kind of feedback from the casting director in the room. At least in the room, you're like, oh, they liked it, or they smiled, or
Yeah,
they.
you can read the room.
Now you're just like sending it in, and that's
Yeah,
it. So things finally started to pick up, and I think now the industry has found a way. It's now a well-oiled machine in how to work. But
I
yeah,
see.
I mean, you get tested as soon as you book a job. You get tested before you get fitted. You get tested at the fitting. You get tested between the fitting and the shoot,
Mm.
and then you get tested the day of the shoot. However,
Wow,
yeah, so it's a
Jesus,
process. Yeah,
that's
it's
too much.
which is great, which is why I also don't go out because
Because
you know
you want to get that job.
well, I want to get the job, and I've
Yeah.
also been booked as a backup
Mhm.
where they're like, I didn't get
Of
the
course,
job, but in case the guy that did ends up with
gets
COVID,
COVID.
I get paid for the day just to be.
I totally understand, man. Like, do you feel like it gets you out, like on set, since everybody's wearing a mask and all that? Does it take you out even further from uh, breaking the fourth wall? You know, is it difficult
Um,
to get into the role with everybody all masked up? And what
no, no,
protocols? Or
because
it's the same thing?
I think it's the same thing only because I feel like everybody, and you know what it's like being on set. Being on set, everybody is so on top of what it is that they're
Needs to be
there to
done.
do
Yeah,
that you're all kind of in your own little frame of mind. You're in your own duty almost.
yeah.
Like
You're
everybody has a
objective.
job exactly. So no one's really bought you're not worried about the other person. You're just there about like, okay, now I'm working with the actor that I'm
Yeah.
working with. That's really the only person that you're dealing with, and then the director, obviously.
Would you ever want to direct a movie, like a short film?
I've thought about it. I've
Yeah,
thought about it. I don't. It would obviously have to be something that
of course. Be
I
passionate about.
like passionate about. I'd probably have to like write it or something. But
Yeah,
I just like I'm a performer. I don't think I have that director um, thing.
I got you.
I know that
You're just
aesthetics. I like aesthetics. Like
uh,
I know I'm like, oh, I would love this shot, or I like this vibe or this music. This would go great. I love putting stuff like that together. But in terms
mhm.
of like, you know,
Do you have
uh,
a favorite director?
favorite director. I love Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Because I love Wes Anderson. I like directors and I was just
I have a,
watching
like a visual style where like that's
very that
Tarantino, like that's
and
Wes Anderson.
and I like God, what was I watching? I was watching Push
Hmm.
for like the third time. I love that movie. And I like when movies have people that have some kind of quality about the way that they look that makes them unique. Like I don't like movies where everyone's like perfect.
Hmm.
Like I love like when someone I'm like, whoa, you have such an interesting, incredible face. Like it creates this picture. Like I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, whoa, this casting is awesome. You
Like,
know?
yeah.
Um, I love stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely like Wes Anderson. Like you watch a Wes Anderson film, like that's like that, like his framing, like the characters, like
Yeah,
the production design.
like
I love it all,
each
you know?
yeah, each character is just like well developed and well thought out. Like every single, no matter how big or small, everybody just fits in perfectly. And yeah, I love stuff like that.
Well, it's getting a little long in the tooth, and I don't know if you watched my other episodes of Casually Christian, but I always end it with like a top seven, kind of like a Letterman thing. And sometimes there's sometimes they're jokes, or sometimes they're lists. But as we get closer to number one, we'll talk about it as we reach number one.
Okay.
So today, since unfortunately Norm Macdonald passed away this
Right.
week, and it's a bummer. I don't want to end the movie. I mean the movie. I don't want to end our show and on a bummer. But since I love comedy and I know that you love comedy as well, I wrote a list of seven stand-up comedians I would like to check out before they pass away.
Uh,
So yeah. So I mean, this is just like, of course, objective.
yeah.
This is just like a list that I need to see because the stand-up comedians that I did see,
Yeah.
In my life was George Lopez,
Mhm.
Fluffy. Who else? I
Fluffy's
recently
awesome.
he's really funny, and I recently saw Philippe Esparza
Uh-huh.
at the Brea Improv. He was really funny, and who else? I saw some other guy too. Oh, Louis C.K. That guy's still
Okay.
funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
even though with his controversy, I mean that guy's still he's freaking good.
Yeah.
He makes
Yeah,
me
he
laugh.
is.
But what stand up comedians did you check out like
You
live?
know what? I honestly I go to comedy shows and not really to see any name talent. Like my
Mm.
friend, or I shouldn't even say it like that. I mean people that are like have big
No, I
special.
understand what you're
Like
saying.
my a buddy of mine, he's a comedian, and so I would go watch him. And like the other day, we were going to go to the improv actually, and it was sold out, and I was like, oh man, that sucks. But then it was because like Jay Farrell was going to be there, and like it was just a bunch of like, so it, I mean, it was definitely, there was no way we were going to get in. But I like going to the improv.
Yeah,
And just checking out, sometimes I just, I like to check out people that I
like new
don't have
faces, like
like an
just funny
expectation,
guys. Yeah.
or yeah, because I feel like I like to go to comedy shows to have a good time.
Hmm.
And like I don't,
Just
I just want it, I want it to be like a night, like an experience of just like going out with some friends and just
yeah,
having like a
laughing.
chill time, like not something that's like official or
Yeah, it's like you forget about the world that's outside. You know what I mean?
for
Not
sure.
worried about politics or the
Yeah,
war. You just go there just to
100%.
like, have a good time, enjoy the vibes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my friend John Lancey just commented that we saw Patton Oswald. He was
Oh, how's
doing
he?
he was great because like what was awesome about watching Patton Oswald is that he was doing new material. It was like low key. It was like at a cafe right in North Hollywood, and I don't know how we found out that he was doing like his new material, but we got in there. It was free, and we sat in the back of this small cafe. And he walked up, and he was wearing like cargo shorts, and he had his notebook,
Yeah.
and it was very raw because like he was looking at his notebook and trying out material. He's a very
Yeah.
confident, funny guy, and it was dope. And you know what's fucking interesting is that we saw this Netflix special, and he was doing the material that he performed for us at the
Oh,
cafe.
nice.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, we were the test audience for that, and he used it for a special.
That's
So that
great.
was really fun. So with I have my list right here. So top 7 comedians I like to check out before something bad happens to them. Is number 7 is Margaret Cho. She's
Okay.
fucking brilliant. I like her because she's like fearless. She doesn't give a fuck what she
She
says.
really doesn't. She's great.
She'll offend every right wing conservative, and she does that.
Yeah.
That's her bread and butter. Just
100%.
pissing those guys off. And I love that she's also sharing her background too, like her family. I love
Right.
comedians that talk about their family and like their backgrounds, not just like shallow observations. Like you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like
Well, I think, you know what? One of the things that I think makes for a great comedian is that when they're able to make fun of themselves. Do you know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Not make fun of
self
themselves, but like,
self-deprecating.
yeah, because it's like it brings it, because everybody can relate to stuff. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
feel like when you're honest about your own experiences, I mean, there's certain things that people, we just don't like to
talk
admit that
about
happened
yeah,
to us. You know what I'm saying? But like if somebody else says, it's like, oh, it's funny because I've been there, I've done it.
yeah.
It's happened to me. I just don't like to talk about it. But you know what I mean?
I totally understand, man. Like the comedian is kind of like that. I guess vessel of seeing a little bit of yourself, not caring what people say, like think about you,
Yeah.
and like telling it how it is. It's like I can
Yeah,
relate
for
to that.
sure.
So yeah, Margaret Cho is number 7 for me, and number 6 is Russell Peters.
Uh-huh.
He's that guy's really funny. Like he had this. He told this story about he was hired to do stand up at in like in the Middle East,
Okay.
and he told the story where he spoke to Bin Laden's brother over the phone, and he was talking. It's like I know what you're thinking. It's not like when I was going to talk to him, I was thinking like he was going to have this heavy accent and all that stuff, but he picked up the phone and said, "Hey, what's up, bro? How you doing?" It's like
Oh,
it did
God.
not sound like the way I thought he was going to sound. It's like,
Right.
yeah, what's going on? But yeah, like just again, like his comedy is just talking about like things that go around in like his life and is very interesting. Like they're all good storytellers, stand-up comedians. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
their job is to make you laugh, but in the end, they're just telling you a story that happens to be
100%.
funny.
Yep.
Jon Stewart, because that guy's an icon with the
Yeah,
Daily Show.
for
That guy's
sure.
really funny. And he's
He's got a
getting
new show coming up.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I saw about that. Is that going to be an HBO Max
I
or is that
believe
like
I think it's on I feel like
ah
it's on
damn it? Because
yeah,
I don't have the I network or whatever it's called.
Apple TV.
Apple TV.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't have that. So I don't know when I'll ever watch it. uh, but yeah, Jon Stewart, he's a legend because of the Daily Show, and I see in him now, like he's getting older. You know, he's an old man. You know, oh
Yeah.
my damn! I remember when he first was on the Daily Show, he was like a young man, and like looked like he was like a kid wearing his dad's sport coat. You know, but yeah, I would love to see Jon Stewart. And here's another John for number 4 is John Mulaney. That guy is funny.
Oh, John Mulaney.
Yeah,
I would totally. I've watched. I'm like moving a lot to the
yeah.
screen, but yes, I would totally love to see him. I love his stuff. New in Town was just.
It's brilliant.
Oh my
I
god.
because you know, you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but like I was judging him like I don't know, that guy seems kind of like a little weird. But as he did his comedy, like it's like wow, I could really relate to what he's saying. I could relate to like his pop culture references, him
Yeah.
you know drinking when he was young, and I jumped over the fence and then I woke up. It was like what
The
you
thing
know? I
is,
was like
I related to him so much just because I just also just on a personal level, just some of the stuff he's gone through. I'm like, because there's a certain image that he looks like you would assume. Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? But like, there's so many other layers, and I feel like
exactly. And I feel pretty bad
I
that I
have
put
to.
him in the box
I
because
get
like he's
judged
fucking
out.
funny.
Like you get like completely misunderstood sometimes, and I
Yeah.
love that guy, man. I love
Yeah,
his stuff.
I would love to meet him. Like he looks like a great guy to talk to.
Yeah,
But yeah, John Mulaney, and number 3 is Jim Gaffigan. That guy's fucking funny.
yeah.
You know what I love about Jim Gaffigan is that he's a clean comedian. Like all his set, like he doesn't curse. He doesn't like. It's very like he just talks
That's
about
a
his
talent,
kids.
dude.
It is a talent because he doesn't curse or anything like that. He's
Yeah,
very clean and he's funny as hell. You know,
yeah.
I love it when he talks about like he's at the gym and he sees these ripped guys. I'm like, why is that guy there? He's done. I might just go home. Oh my, yeah, I totally understand that. And number 2 is Dave Chappelle because of course he's
Yeah,
another legend.
right.
And I didn't see him perform, but I remember a long time ago we were. I was friends with these 2 people who were part of NALIP, was the National Alliance of Independent Film Producers,
Mhm.
and they were scouting a comedian to do this the showcase for their summit, and
Mhm.
we were there to scout some comedians, and Dave Chappelle was in the room, and
Wow.
we were gonna get let in after his set, but I saw him like in through the door. And when he came out, because it was such a small venue, that he came out, and I literally touched his like coattails. Like it was like he was that close to me. It was like wow,
Nice.
like he was super tall and he was smoking a cigarette as he was doing his set. But yeah, that was the first celebrity, his first comedian celebrity that I was really close to. And I mean, he just walked out of there. He didn't talk to anybody. Like after he was done, he just walked
Right.
out. But I was so close to him, man. And
Yeah, that's
that
awesome.
was I would like to see him perform live. Uh,
Cool.
and number 1 is somebody that I just recently found out is Tom Segura. Have you ever heard of Tom Segura?
No,
He's fucking like he has several specials on Netflix. You should check it out because
Okay.
the older stuff I feel like it's better. But Tom Segura is like I don't know, like I don't like his delivery. Like he's telling you like a good story, and he talks about. It's really hard to explain, but like he's definitely like somebody I would love to see. Like he's worked years, but now like he's blowing up. Like a lot of people know him now,
Yeah,
but his comedy is fucking top notch. You should check him out.
that's awesome, man.
Tom
For
Segura.
sure.
But yeah, that's my list, guys, and I really appreciate Jerry for joining us today to talk about his career and you know
Thank you, man.
what it's like to be an actor. And for everybody who commented, thank you so much. And Jerry, I hope you know whenever I'm in town, if I'm ever in your neck of the woods, we should get like a drink or have a bite
For
to eat.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely
that'd
hit
be
me
cool.
up. I think
Yeah,
I'm more on your side of town because I go to my mom's like almost every week. So
yeah.
for sure, we definitely have to hang out for
That'll
sure.
be fun, and you know, I would like to have you on again, but not talk about you know acting, but just like talk about different subjects about like comic
For sure.
books or horror
Yeah,
movies or stuff like that. I'll definitely let you know. But
100%.
thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy the
Thank
rest
you,
of your
man.
day. And
Of course, you
thanks.
too.
You didn't have to, but you know, we appreciate it.
No,
Until
no, no.
next
I
time,
had a
man.
great time, man. All right.
Thank you,
You
Jerry.
guys
I
take care.
appreciate it. And to
Thank you.
everybody who watched us this evening, thank you for taking a little bit part of your day to watch Casually Christian presented by Livestream My Event. And if you guys want to produce your own podcast talk show, please hit up my friend Emmanuel at his company Livestream My Event, and he'll set you up in the same manner as he did with Casually Christian. So please remember to hit like and subscribe and smash that notification bell. And we'll see you guys soon. And enjoy your weekend. Have a good night, guys. Bye.